Before or after this podcast, go check out built.com. If you are looking for a snack bar that is high in protein, has delicious flavors, and is made with 100% real chocolate, then this is the place for you to go. Use Brie Davis 10 for discount at checkout. Have you been trying to start a fitness routine, but you just can't get in the hang of it, or you're not really sure what to do every day? Well, go check out grownstrong.com, a program created for women by women with an active, supportive online community, as well as options for 20, 40, 60, or 80-minute programming, starting from beginner all the way to elite options. This will help you reach your goals by getting 1% better every day. Finally, maybe you're trying to start a workout, but someone is using the timer at the gym, or you need a portable one, small enough to fit in your pocket, but large enough to never miss a round. Then go to gsgotimer.com. It has a magnetic back for convenience and comes in many fun colors. Hello, and welcome to Dr. Bre Davis, the podcast, hosted by me, Dr. Bre. But to pretty much everyone other than a few of my patients, I just go by Bre. Today I have on the amazing Alise. She is an Olympic weightlifting national champion, a coach at Iron Acres Barbell Club in Banks, Oregon, and a mother. So to start us off today, not just a life hack, but a weightlifting life hack.
Weightlifting hack. Yes, absolutely. In your pull, patience in the process, and just patient with learning it. It's a tough sport. And I think people they want results fast. I think that's just naturally people want results fast in life, and it's not going to come fast.
I think that's something everyone could work on in all avenues.
Patience is a virtue.
Your other one specific to weightlifting was?
Average Bros thumb tape. It's amazing. Cool. I've tried so many different tapes and they're good.
Awesome. Thank you for the weightlifting life hacks, but I'm super excited to have you on, and thanks for taking some time to join me. But I wanted to introduce you. Tell me a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll talk about some weightlifting.
So I'm Alise Enriquez. I am a CrossFit coach, more so weightlifting coach now, mom of 4, and just living life. I'm busy. I do hair multiple times a week on the side from home. In between that, I do my own weightlifting. I'm a competitive weightlifter, and that basically takes up all the time between hair and mom and kids sports and my own weightlifting, my own training, and then coaching and programming for all the weightlifters and going to their meets and stuff. So yeah, I stay pretty busy.
So exciting. I wanted to give like a little background to everyone to let them know how I met you. And it was from at Banks CrossFit early on. And I think it was my first day at CrossFit ever, back when Kyla went with me, when Cammie introduced us.
Yes.
And I just remember, I think it was box jump day or max height box jump. And meanwhile, we're standing there barely doing a 6-inch box jump. I'm afraid I'm going to hit something. And you were pregnant at the time with, I can't remember which, and just,
Adeline.
Yeah, I don't even know how high you were jumping, way higher than me. And I was like, what the heck? This lady's amazing.
Everybody brings that box jump up because Jessie had said the same thing. She's like, it was like their first day also. And here you are, like 38 weeks pregnant, jumping. I don't know. I think it was like a 30-inch box or something, which is not super tall, right? Yeah. Now that we have jumped higher, but at 30 weeks or however many weeks pregnant I was, I don't know, it's just something that I did.
Yeah. I think you'd been training for a while. So you knew your body, but you're definitely shorter than me too. And I was a basketball player. So I was like, who is this lady and what does she do? But yeah, tell me a little bit about your CrossFit journey, your fitness journey. And then we'll talk about how you just transitioned into weightlifting.
Okay. So this is years back. Oh geez, like at least 8 or 9 years ago. We had just moved to Oregon. I had 3 young kids and my husband was working like 60, 50s and was rough. We moved to Oregon in October. We were in an apartment. It was a rough time. And so I just got into running a little bit. I was doing like home videos. I was doing whatever I could at home as far as fitness goes with the little kids, and then started getting into running a little bit after that. And then I started training it was a 5K first, and then it was half marathon. And so I think it was the hippie chick half marathon here in Hillsboro. During that time, I was also working out. I'd started out at LA Fitness, also in Hillsboro, and just going through the motions of between videos and going to the gym and not really knowing what I was doing. And then my sister was doing CrossFit. She lives in Utah, and I went to go visit her, and I still remember it was an ascending ladder of box jumps and deadlifts, and the deadlifts were at 95 pounds, and I just added 1 rep to each thing, and it was a 9-minute like AMRAP ascending ladder. And at this point in my training, I was running 8 miles or something, and it was cool, it was easy. But those 9 minutes, and also I think the elevation in Utah, my lungs hurt for days. And I had already looked into CrossFit at this point, but my husband had just graduated college. He wasn't making a ton of money. And for both of us to go, like, it was going to be like $220 a month, which was on the high end of paying LA Fitness, I think like $30 a month into 220. And anyways, we just financially were like, no, we're not going to do it. Anyways, and then after coming back from Utah and doing that 9 minutes, I was like, I've got to find CrossFit. I got to find CrossFit. And that's when I found BCF out in Banks, and they were a lot cheaper. I went in there and we were like, we're just going to watch. And so we just watched. And I remember Trevor, he had said he didn't think Juan would ever come back after one day. And anyways, here I am. And it's been like 7 or 8 years since I started, and I started coaching over 5 years ago there. And it's just progressed into me transferring, basically, I don't want to say I've retired from CrossFit, but I've switched over to weightlifting, like full-time now, doing that instead. And that was just something that I was intrigued with getting. I think the world of weightlifting has grown because of CrossFit. And I think that's really cool, because I feel like it was a dying sport in a sense. It wasn't as popular. Now it's growing again, it's becoming popular. And I think it's a great option for people, like especially masters athletes, older, because it's not a lot of like jolting movements. And it's just fun. It's fun to be competitive as an older athlete. So
yeah,
that's basically how I got there.
Yeah. How did you find the gym that you're at now for weightlifting? How did you choose, or maybe it was a hard decision to switch, not 100%, like you're not married to anything, but switch from
Right.
CrossFit to figure out what weightlifting is, and how do you get in the world of weightlifting?
Yeah, I dabbled in it a little bit, and I'd asked Trevor to be my coach. I was like, I just want to try it. I'm little, and my body's like the perfect size to be a weightlifter. I just want to try it. I want to do a meet. It was just a goal that I'd made. And I went back and forth with it. And ultimately I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do a meet. And so I did the Spring Open, the Iron Beaver Spring Open back in 2019. And I got second. I qualified for state. I was like, cool. I'm going to be a master's athlete like that year or the next year. And what that means basically is like the qualifying numbers for meets and national meets is a lot lower than an open person, and master starts at 35. So I was like, okay, I can try this. And at that point, still doing some competitive CrossFit competitions, like with Northwest Fit Games, but we just transitioned a little bit out of that and I was still wanted to be a little bit of a competitive athlete. And then, so I did Invictus for a little bit, their 3-day programming. And at that point too, we moved out to Yamhill, and I couldn't get into the gym as much. And so I'd gone to the weightlifting side of things, also more of like the hypertrophy work, like bodybuilding sort of things. I just started getting a lot stronger doing that. And then how I found Eastside Barbell in Springfield. My friend Rachel actually was a nurse. So my coach was an ER doctor down there in Eugene. So Rachel Barters was a nurse with her, and she was like, hey, my friend's gym is looking to build their master's team, basically. So I reached out to them, and it was funny because I'd actually had already signed up to do a seminar with them over at Samaria and with Ty. And so I was like, I'll meet them, but I don't know if I fully want to switch, because it was a really hard decision from coaching CrossFit 8 classes a week to being more passionate about weightlifting. And it was a really hard transition for me are people going to see me as she's quitting CrossFit, but she's still doing weightlifting? And I don't think that was ever the thing, but it was hard for me personally to process switching over, and is that the right thing for me? And ultimately I just went with what I felt in my heart and what I was passionate about, and it's been the best thing. A lot of good has come out of it since, so I'm grateful that I followed what I had decided and chose.
Tell me about the journey of a new weightlifter. I know very little. I know you guys do clean and jerks and you guys do snatches, but those look significantly different than CrossFit per se.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's so hard because I always tell my athletes, I'm like, it's an Olympic sport. We're just like mediocre weightlifters out here, like peasants in CrossFit. The goal in CrossFit is to move multiple reps in as short as amount of time. In weightlifting, your goal is to move one heavy set or one lift as best as you can. And so going from CrossFit into weightlifting, I've had to learn, you've got to slow things down, way back, and almost relearning things again, because the way that it's taught in CrossFit, it's not that it's inaccurate rep after rep. Your form is obviously going to start to break down. Your pulls are going to be really quick and you're not going to get under as far as technically correct. But in CrossFit, that's the goal, right? Move as fast as we can for as many reps as we can. So yeah, it's been hard I'm good, I can do this. But then when a coach breaks you down and you need to get the CrossFit mindset out of you if you want to be a competitive athlete. And so I've just had to almost relearn things. And I remember Trevor doing the same thing when I could do a snatch at 95 pounds. But I was bending early and he took me down to the empty barbell. So it was relearning everything again. And that's almost what I told an athlete today at Iron Acres. I was I know that you have your CrossFit numbers, your 1 rep maxes, but we almost need Iron Acre 1 rep maxes. There's a difference. And if we're going to get better, you can't go off of bad habits. It's almost relearning everything again, but for good purpose too.
What do the standards look like as far as competitive weightlifting?
If you're in a weightlifting meet, everything's got to be locked out. So in a snatch, from ground to overhead to that squat movement, you can't have any elbow bobble. You have to be able to lock it out, stand it up, and then show control at the end. You don't just stand it up and then drop it. You have to wait for them to tell you to put it down. So everything, you can't even have the slightest little elbow bobble at all. And same thing in the clean and jerk. Get the clean, elbows can't touch the knees. And then when you stand it up and you do your jerk, same, you cannot have any elbow bobble. You can't have any press outs. And sometimes I thought that was really good, but the worst one I've seen is someone do a snatch and they do the turnover, and the turnover starts at their hairline and then they press it out. And that counts in CrossFit.
Yes.
I got it. Or they drop a knee down as they get into the bottom of a snatch. They drop a knee down and then they bring the knee back up and stand it. Counts in CrossFit. Well, no, that doesn't count in weightlifting. They need to be executed perfectly for them to count.
I think it's cool to see too, just even looking at the competitive as everyday CrossFitters versus the ladies and gentlemen at the games is a lot of them have that background and they have that really good form and technique, and doing that over and over again has gotten them to be the best in the world versus
absolutely
bad habits and stuff.
Yeah, you can definitely see the difference in the ones that have come from a weightlifting background and then had transferred over into CrossFit. Their form is so much better. And
let's talk about training, and let's talk about meets. What does a meet look like?
So training, you can have different cycles. We can peak, I just peaked for nationals, and what that looked like, it was hard. It was mentally hard because I know everybody loves to max out. It's fun. And we were maxing out every single week. But for me, it was a little bit of a hard time leading up to it. I had a lot of personal life things that were happening, and to max out every single week was hard. And sometimes it gets mentally tough because if you're continuing to fail all the time, and that's really hard. But basically, I train 4 days a week. My sessions are between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending, mainly about 2 hours. I give myself 2 hours to train, and that's not full on training. We do a lot of heavy stuff. So you've got a lot of 3-minute rest, 2-minute rest in between. And then when it comes to meet time, you have, they call like a taper week. So the week leading up to the meet, you decrease your volume, you don't do as many squats. And if you are doing squats, they tend to be a little bit on the heavier side. So you can at least still feel heavyweight, but you may do singles or doubles. And then it just tapers off. I tend to do best when I have 2 complete days off before a meet. My legs feel really fresh. So leading up to a meet. So come meet day, what do you want to know about meet day?
All of it. So
Okay.
weigh-ins or how you qualify or what you're eating.
Weigh-ins, there's different weight categories. There's like, for women, let's just say, for instance, they're 59 category weight all the way down to 45, but 59, 64, 71, 76, 87, and then 87 plus. And that just means you can't be within. So if you're at the 64 kilogram weight class, which is what I just competed at, I couldn't be over 64 kilograms or 138.2 pounds or something like that.
Do you have to sign up for the category that you're going to be lifting in? Or is it if you miss your weight, you get bumped?
So you do, you have to, when you register, and it's different for local meets than it is national meets. So for this last national meet, I actually signed up as a 71, but I knew I was going to go probably into a 64. So I had to email them and tell them I was going down a weight class. You can't go down a weight class the day of weigh-ins, at least for a national meet. For local meets, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more casual, but you could always go up. So if I happened to be over 64, I could have gone up to a 71, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of what I was trying to accomplish at that point. So you weigh in 2 hours before you actually lift. So if I'm going to go in for like a 10 a.m. lifting time, I would weigh in at 8 a.m. So I go in, weigh in basically naked. And then I guess I had a bra and underwear on, but you go in, weigh in, and then they write your weight down, and then you give them your openers. So basically you need a number for your snatch that you're going to start at, and then a number for your clean and jerk to start at. And those generally are between like 90 to 95% or so.
So something you're hopefully gonna hit.
Yes, it should be one that you are confident and you can hit usually on any day of the week.
Okay.
So you should be able to go in, because the thing that sucks is if you go in and you're too heavy, because you got nerves and stuff that are happening at that point too. Yeah. That if you go in and miss that first snatch, because a snatch is so much more technically hard to hit than a clean and jerk, that if you miss that first snatch, it just kind of starts to mentally mess with you. And then it's harder to almost come back and hit that second one. And a lot of times it's usually like an over pull, because there's so much adrenaline running through you that they throw the bar way back behind them and can't catch it. So then you come in, and then depending on where let's say we come in and there's somebody that's going to start with a snatch at 60 kilograms. And then I'm coming in at 63. They're going to hit theirs and they could go up to 63. Then it would put me in as my first attempt. So you get 3 attempts, and it just goes by the order of the next lifter that's going to hit the next heaviest. And then the coach is there doing the weight changes and things like that with the marshal. And yeah, generally they go up between 1 to 3 kilograms, depending on the lift and how they're looking out there too. And they can continue to increase those and change those too. So sometimes like people are watching a meet and they'll see, okay, Alise is up next. All right. And then, okay, change of athlete. And people are like, wait a minute, she was just up. What's happening? What's happening is behind the scenes, my coach is back there changing numbers, and she just upped me. So now that puts the next person in line to go. Okay. So that's how that goes.
So you get 3 lifts to try to get the heaviest, I'm assuming. Yep. And then 1 score counts. One of those counts.
Yeah. So if you go in and you hit 60, you miss 63, but then you hit 65, you're credited for that 65.
Okay.
And then, so all the snatch people have to go through and get theirs done. And then there's like a 10-minute break in between, and then the clean and jerk start. And the same thing goes with the clean and jerk. So you get 3 attempts. And then, so let's say like I get the 60 on the snatch, and then I get a 60 for easy math purposes, a 60 in my clean and jerks. My score total is now 120 for the day.
Okay.
And so everybody's total, depending on how you're ranked, right? The highest total wins and then goes down from there.
How much time do you usually get between lifts, or is it really just dependent on the rest of the lifters around you?
It's really dependent, especially if you get into a competitive weight class or a competitive group. You could be anywhere. You could follow yourself, which is like a 2-minute clock, or it could be, I would say, between 2 and 3 minutes, sometimes longer.
Okay. So you're not like waiting around for hours to hit your next.
No.
Okay. What are you doing like after you do weigh-ins? Are you trying to eat and refuel your body? Are you just taking in some quick carbs? What does that look like?
Yep. Yeah. So this past meet that I had to do, I've done multiple meets. This one I did a water cut just so I could make my weight. And I wasn't worried about making the weight, but the water cut, basically I water loaded myself for 5 days and then you cut it down and then you cut it off completely. So after I weighed in, I drank a bottle of like Pedialyte just to rehydrate myself. And then because I had gone gluten and dairy free, also I had to really think about, I didn't want to reintroduce those foods to a meet. So I did like oatmeal, an RX bar, and I think a protein shake before. Yeah, you're basically just wanting to get those carbs in you. You don't want necessarily quick carbs because you have 2 hours until lift, right? So you want foods that are going to be like in you for a lot longer. So slower digesting carbs or whatever. And then in between your lifts, that's when you eat too. So again, you don't want to eat anything super heavy. I think I did for sure a protein shake and a banana. And I think I did baby food too.
Yeah. Nice.
So it was perfect for me. A lot of people will eat like gummy bears or gummy worms or Sour Patch Kids in between. Just those quick sugar carbs are really good for you. I don't tend to love those in between, but some people do.
Yeah. Let's talk about your last amazing meet and what happened there. And then what led you to, I won't spoil the end, but what happened at the end of that meet?
I won national champion in my weight class and age. Yeah. That was a really cool experience. So that was actually why I had gone down. I'd been lifting at a 71 since COVID, really. My first few meets, I was lifting at a 64 kilogram lifter. With the kids homeschooling, COVID was awful. And I didn't have the bandwidth to track all my food and even worry about what I was doing. So my coaches were like, you know what, you've already qualified for nationals, even at a 71. If you want to go up to 71, great. So I was like, sweet. Well, I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm just going to have fun training. I'm just going to lift and enjoy the process. One less stressor. I've gone to nationals twice now and 3 times. I can't remember.
So awesome.
But last year I got second. I compete against this friend that I've met. Her name's Amanda Whiting, incredible athlete. And I was like, you know what? Like I'm close. I'm weighing in at 68. So I'm on the lighter side of a 71. I can like get my nutrition in check and I can go down to 64 and I can be a little bit more competitive. So that's what I started to decide to do back in October. As I told my nutrition coach, I'm like, hey, I want to go in at a 64 in April for nationals in Utah. And she's okay. So we did it a slow cut and we were really monitoring like my recovery, how the weights were feeling. Everything was going up really good. So come meet time, so that's the hard thing to know too, is according to the format or the people who are signed up in each class, I was like, I could easily take gold. So I was like, great, that's what we're going to do. And then we had a couple people move up into that one and it put me into third. And so I knew that I would have to really fight for it. So come meet day, and the lifters that were there are strong. They were strong lifters. And I knew I would have to hit every single one and I'd have to put on a show and fight for winning or doing anything. So come competition time, I actually did not place it all in the snatches. I hit 73 in my snatch. So 73 kilograms.
Still freaking amazing, but yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a meet PR. And to do it at nationals was really cool. I've hit 75 like in a day in a training, but those don't necessarily count. So to have a meet PR at nationals was really cool. It was a bit crushing to hit that. So the only reason that I didn't place in that is whoever hits that number first is the one who places. Or so I would have had to come in and hit 74 to place because they had hit it first. So that's where the dicey, do we go for 74 and risk it? Or do we hit 73 and hope she makes it also? Because if I had not hit 73, I would have been credited for my 69 that I had hit previously, which puts me a lot less kilograms than the other girls had been hitting. So I was still at the 73, 74 that everybody else was hitting, which still put me in a good spot. Like it's not over. I still could come back and hit my clean and jerks and do that. But I was currently sitting in 4th place at that point. So I had to, my coach said, let's do one medal at a time. So she's, if you hit this one, you won't get anything less than bronze. I was like, cool, I'll place. But I didn't want just bronze. I'd worked too hard for it. And so then it was like, all right, then it was a game of in the back of, she's like, just hang out here. She just kept changing my numbers and changing my numbers. And it just continued to go up, I hit my 93. I hit all my clean and jerks. I think we went 88, 91, 93. And there was 2 lifter left. It was me and this other girl. And she went out there, cleaned her 93 and missed the 93 jerk. So that had put me, I won first in total, first in clean and jerk. And came home with 2 gold medals that are now hanging in my garage. And it was a really cool experience to be like that, the underdog that came back, and it was cool. It was a neat experience. Like the adrenaline going through my body that weekend was just unreal. It's such a cool experience because it's an individual sport and that everything that you do is on you. Yeah. And to know that you just did that is really cool. You have teammates there, but they're not out there lifting the bar with you, or this is on you. Every day of training for 2 hours to go out there for those quick 6 total lifts and to come out as like national champion of my weight class is really cool. I love that I can show my kids the hard work pays off and that it doesn't have to be over when you're a mom or you're older. Like moms need to take care of themselves just as much as everybody else. And I love that I can show them that.
Yeah. So what is next for you? What happens now?
So Puerto Rico, which is Pan Am, so the Pan American, it's definitely not going to be as big as a meet as Salt Lake was. Salt Lake had over 800, I think I saw athletes. This one last week, I think there was only like 150 signed up. It's kind of hard because it's all the way down in Puerto Rico, which is a big commitment. And last year it was in Orlando. But so that's in June 8th through the 10th, 8th through the 13th or something like that. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I'll be. And then I don't really have whether we do AO finals or we do Masters Worlds. That's still up in the air right now. I'll take a break from competing during the summer. And then I won't take a break from like training, but just from competing. Lots going on in the summer, and then we'll hit it again in the fall. Yeah, that's what's next.
My last question is, what advice would you have for someone wanting to transition to weightlifting? Where do you start? Should you get a coach? Is there programming you should do, or what's,
I think that's all relative to the individual, right? Like 100%, I think a person needs to get a coach, whether that's an online coach. And that's where I started. I started where I did an online thing. I just submitted videos. The only problem with that, it's hard. You're not getting real-time feedback, but those generally tend to be cheaper and what a lot of people can afford or whatever. If they can afford to find a coach and they don't, like I said, it's all relative to what a person can fit in. I think I always tell people that, because, a lot of people say, I don't have time. No, you do have time. Like, I very rarely sit and watch TV. Like I would prefer to train or work on my nutrition or do something than sit and watch TV. And I know that's, different for everybody, but if you want it bad enough, you're going to find the time. And I have people, I need help with my nutrition. I'm fat. I'm like, you know where to find me, where you can come to the gym, you can come, like, you can do CrossFit there, you can do weightlifting there, you can do all the things, like find a community. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is people need to find community. It's so hard to do things on your own, whether that's an online community, whether that's an actual in-person community. I think that's the only reason that I'm still doing this is because I've got myself involved in the community out at BCF and proven myself that I am good enough to do this, and people do look up to me. And I just, if you want something bad enough, follow your heart and do it, and don't let anything stop you. Take the time for yourself. You're worth it.
Yeah. So people can find you at Banks CrossFit, which is in Oregon.
Yep. So BCF CrossFit. Yep. In Banks, Oregon. And then Iron Acres, which is my barbell club that I run there, which is also connected. We have our own little space that we opened up in January, and it's been awesome. I've got some people competing. I got somebody competing in a meet this weekend. Somebody in 5 weeks. I have a big group that I'm taking to Eastside for a super total meet in a couple weeks, and that'll be really exciting. So it's really fun to see people progress. But
yeah, so freaking exciting. And I feel like in the beginning of COVID, I was like, oh, she's doing this weightlifting thing now. And then slowly like creep on all your stuff till now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've been very blessed to be able to or have a home gym. I think that made all the difference is when COVID shut everything down, I was so used to working in my garage for 4 years prior to that it wasn't anything different for me. And I feel very blessed that I have the setup that I do in my garage there's no excuses. It's right there.
Yeah. Walk on over.
Yeah. It's nice. Yeah.
Perfect. I appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see what happens next. I feel like I'm not going to be surprised by anything that comes out of what you do, but definitely a fan.
I'm going to keep pushing to be the best version of me.
I love it.